Good morning, small business community. My name is Leland McFarland, and you have arrived at the Small Business Spotlight, where we shine a spotlight on the things that small business owners care about. It has been a while. I have been out. I've missed 2 weeks. Now, I know that the throngs of people that come every week waiting for my show have missed me. I know you have. Been a little busy. Last week, it was just a little self-care. Took some time off with the wife, got some time alone, be able to just recharge and relax. And the week before that, it was just house stuff. I'm in the process of selling my house, and it's been a lot. Every so often, it's just random people dropping in. But we got it sold, and crazy story, just a crazy story. So it's been about a month. We've been trying to sell our house, and we're not getting, that many nibbles. And then some guy comes in last Friday, and he loves it. He just loves the house and immediately puts down an offer. And as I'm filling out the paperwork to accept the offer, because it's a full price offer, I'm happy. As I'm doing that, on the outside of my neighborhood is a pew, pew. Someone is injured 4 times at the exact same moment that I'm filling out my paperwork. I'm looking at this like, this has got to be a sign. I think I'm doing the right thing to get the heck out. But it is just insane. I live in a small town. That kind of stuff does not happen in my area. It is very rare that something like this ever happens. And it just so happens to take place at the same time, exact same moment that I'm filling out the paperwork to get the heck out. Crazy coincidences, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful that first of all, the guy, he did make it. He's in the hospital, he's still recovering, and they did catch the guy. So for those who are, what happened, you just told us a story, a crazy story, you didn't finish it. But yeah, I prayers go out for this man. But it is just an insane coincidence that all of that happened just at the entrance of my neighborhood, of all places, and at all times. Anyways, enough about all of that. Let's get into the news. They've moved some stuff around, so here we go. Change the layout a little bit. All right. First up, small business optimism has dropped according to the latest NFIB Small Business Optimization Optimism Index, which fell to 95.3 in May, below the historical average of 98. This decline the decline raises concerns among entrepreneurs as they face complicated economic situations. The uncertainty index has also increased, indicating that small businesses are dealing with unpredictable economic challenges, making it hard for them to make decisions. Despite some excitement around AI investments, many small business owners are struggling with rising fuel prices, which are harder for them, which makes it harder for them to manage compared to larger companies. Key findings from the report show that employment trends are stagnant, with job openings at its lowest since May of 2020. Yeah, that's a bad month to compare to, highlighting difficulties in hiring. Additionally, only 9% of business owners plan to create new jobs, and a growing number are affected by raising labor costs and supply chain disruptions. Inflation continues to be a major concern, with many businesses raising prices, further straining their cash flow. The NFIB report suggests that small business owners may need to tighten their budgets, improve operational efficiency, and leverage technology to cope with these challenges. While the outlook is cautious, it's important for small business owners to remain proactive in adapting their strategies for the months ahead. Now, this was May, And there have been some changes, and one of the big changes is I can't remember if at this moment that I believe it has been signed, the peace agreement between Iran and America, and so hopefully we're going to be able to get that straight opened up. We're going to get oil coming in. Hopefully this lowers gas prices, and within like a month or two, maybe we're seeing a bit of recovery and we're seeing better optimism, just because economic conditions have improved greatly. That's my hope. But still, it's always good and prudent as a small business owner to really look for ways to be able to save money even in the best of times, because you don't want to be able to be taken off guard. You want to make sure that you're running as efficient as possible, because the more efficient you are, the better your profits are. And so you're able to save more, pay yourself more. So yeah, always look for the way to be able to improve in going forward. So we have IBM investing in quantum computers. IBM is making a huge commitment to the future of technology by investing over $10 billion, to the $10 billion in quantum computing over the next 5 years. This investment will improve research, manufacturing, and partnerships, opening new opportunities for small businesses in various industries. IBM CEO Arv Arvind uh, Krishna emphasized that the quantum era is already upon us, with businesses around the world using IBM's quantum computers to tackle challenges that seemed impossible just a few years ago. IBM operates the largest fleet of quantum computers globally, with more than 90 systems available to businesses through the cloud. This makes it easier for small companies to utilize advanced computing power without the need to invest heavily in technology upfront. Sectors like healthcare and materials scientists can benefit significantly, improving everything from drug discovery to product design. However, small business owners should approach this technology thoughtfully. For this small business, it's just not going to necessarily be something that they're going to utilize. Um, I wouldn't even worry about it if you're the plumber or anything like that, but it's exciting to know what's coming up in the future. It's one of those things. It's kind of like AI. It wasn't in the beginning necessarily something that every person was going to be using. But as it became more readily available and more incorporated into the technology that we're already using, that's when AI became viable. That's, I think, what's going to happen with quantum computing. It's going to take a lot longer than AI because it is an expensive thing to make. $10 billion to invest in how to make it cheaper. And it is something that could save tons of time when it becomes readily available and easily accessible. So this is just more of food for thought, what's coming down the line. And, I'm not sure if people have done this, but like, what happens if we take AI and quantum computing and kind of put them together? That would be interesting. I'd love to see what would happen with that. All right. The U.S. Small Business Administration, or SBA, has announced a significant crackdown on foreign products falsely labeled as made in America. This action was initiated following a directive from President Trump during the White House Small Business Summit. The SBA, in partnership with General Services Administration, has removed nearly 2 dozen misrepresented items from the GSA Advantage platform. This is a move to protect American manufacturers, especially small business owners, from unfair competition in federal contracts, which are meant for U.S. companies. So this isn't just like the spoon. It says it's made in America, but it was made in China. Now, this is more for like companies that are vying for federal contracts that specifically say it's got to be made in America, but they're just getting cheap Chinese knockoffs. SBA Administrator Kelly Loeffler emphasized that every federal dollar should support American businesses and workers. This initiative is especially crucial for manufacturers like Cheryl. Cheryl Manufacturing, the only U.S. producer of stainless steel flatware entirely made in America. Their CEO, Matthew Roberts, highlighted the importance of maintaining jobs through genuine American craftsmanship. While this crackdown benefits small businesses by promoting true domestic sourcing, it also introduces challenges. Small business manufacturers must now comply with increased documentation and verification processes to prove their American made status. Additionally, the FBI is ramping up efforts to tackle false certification claims, urging small business owners to report suspicious activity. The SBA has launched initiatives like a loan guarantee program to support small manufacturers during this transition. Overall, these actions aim to bolster the U.S. economy by ensuring federal contracts favor honest American made products and fostering fair procurement systems. So I'm all for anything that is US made. I love it. I know that it may cost a little bit more money, but if we get into that mode to where money is just continuing to circulate through America, we're paying workers in America. American workers are then buying services on Main Street that are American products. It benefits and bolsters our economic community to the point to where, yes, it may increase in price, but we're able to pay it. We were at points in our lives not too long ago, we're talking like 80s, 90s, to where we did have most of our stuff made in America and we did fine economically. We were doing okay. Yes, not everything was made in America, but it's a way to be able to bolster our system, our government, our economy, out taking the money and putting it out into China and making them rich. Let's make ourselves rich. All right. Nearly half of Americans believe they've achieved the American dream. A recent SurveyMonkey survey shows that nearly half of Americans, about 44%, believe they have achieved their version of the American dream, but opinions may vary widely among different age groups. While only 22% of Gen Z feel successful, that number rises to 68% for baby boomers and 84% for the silent generation. The generational gap highlights varying economic challenges and personal expectations that small business owners need to consider. Optimism, optimism index remains high. We just saw a little while ago, but it's not high, with 55% of those who haven't achieved their dreams hoping about their futures, although 45% feel uncertain. The biggest barrier cited by the respondents is the high cost of living, affecting 81% of people, following by housing prices, healthcare options, and low wages. For small business owners, these barriers present both challenges and opportunities to develop products and services that assist customers in overcoming financial stresses. To maintain a competitive edge, businesses should tailor their offerings based on consumers' needs. For example, baby boomers may value quality and longevity, while younger generations may focus on innovation and sustainability. Understanding these differences can help businesses foster customer loyalty and support. This article went, in a different direction, but it is interesting to see the different very generational. I'm part of the millennial gen gap. I guess it's between X and millennial. I'm like right on that border. I'm riding that edge. Um, Zennial, I think, is what people call it. And so I would love to see kind of a little bit more information about that. But I think that, yeah, it does depend on the generation, and the older that you get, I think, the more established that you are, the more rooted you are. I know that some of my older friends versus some of my younger friends, it's a very different variation and how well established they are, how well paid are they within their job? How much money are they bringing home? What kind of benefits do they have? That does come with age. And I think that there's this expectation within sometimes the younger generation. They see what the older generation they go and they go, I want that. They built that. And so they're not going to get that immediately, but if they keep at it, they will get there. Oftentimes quicker than the older generation, just because of the way that the world is progressing. And it just depends on, jobs. I've seen people be able to get up through their ranks in their jobs, get more money, get better benefits. But when it comes to housing, yeah, maybe that is a little bit of a different thing. I've seen, though, people with housing, they'll build their own house. And I have a friend, he did it twice. He built his house twice, and he's got himself a little mini mansion off of building it himself with cheap parts that he got off of Craigslist. And now I think he's close to being just completely debt free with a house. But it took a lot of time, money, a little bit of money, and effort to be able to do that. But it is possible. All right. Rural entrepreneurs outpace city entrepreneurs. Rural entrepreneurs are finding success in global markets, outperforming urban businesses, according to a recent report from Shopify. This trend reflects a shift away from the belief that entrepreneurs must move to cities to be successful. Instead, small town businesses in countries like U.S., Canada, and UK are thriving by utilizing technology and online platforms. Last year, rural merchants generated billions in sales and are now generating are and are now growing at a faster rate than urban counterparts. Shopify notes that the lower cost of operation in rural areas combined with access to worldwide markets have given small businesses an advantage. By 2025, 30% of new Shopify shops are expected to be based in rural areas, an increase from 25% in 2015. Internet access has opened doors for rural entrepreneurs, allowing them to sell products globally. In 2025, rural businesses are projected to have made $2.6 billion in cross border sales, a huge rise from 655 million in 2019. Examples include JQ Dickerson Saltworks and Nova Scotia Fishermen, which both have reached markets overseas due to their online presence. However, rural entrepreneurs face challenges, including logistics and the need for stronger customer services when shipping internationally. While tools for online store management are improving, business owners must still learn about digital marketing and e-commerce. I live in a rural area and it is very fascinating. I mean, Starlink right there is a game changer, especially for those who don't live in town. Because, if you're living in a rural area, you're still going to get good internet if you live in town. But it's now possible for people who live outside of town, maybe got some land, to be able to have really good internet wherever they want, thanks to Starlink. And Amazon Leo is one of those that's coming up pretty soon to be able to contend with that and be able to increase that capability for people in rural environment. And so now you got the combination of, like what it was saying, low cost. Land is a lot cheaper than and storefronts, warehouses, all those kinds of aspects are uh, a lot more easily accessible in rural areas than it is more so in bigger areas or city areas. So there is a bit of an advantage when it comes to that. And then, yeah, the World Wide Web is, doesn't matter if you're living in town or in the country. It's you sell your product. So I could see that. All right, let's go into the deals. Got a few for you today. This first one, pretty crazy. So this comes from AliExpress. You can get yourself a room. It is foldable. It's about 600 square feet when it's all extended out, and shrinks down to 7 feet wide. And so you can, this is a great business idea. This is great for construction companies who need to be able to have a mobile office or something to that effect. And this is, 600 feet. This is better than one of those just like camper trailers that are usually out on construction sites. It folds right up into a small uh, a thin width that can be put onto a flatbed truck and then transported to wherever you need. Or heck, this would be great for I would believe like a rental. Like you rent this out for like say $1,000 or something like that. You have your own truck, you ship it out there and it expands out, and then you got like a wedding party that can host the food, the catering, all that stuff put in there for like outdoor weddings. There's a million and one ideas for this. And for $4,673.94, it's a pretty good thing and free shipping. And speaking of AliExpress, we got this from them as well. It's not as expensive as the last item, but for $34 to have a 72-inch, I believe that's metal rack. Yeah, metal double layered shelving. Pretty good price and really good for storage. If you got a lot of storage needs, this is the thing to do. And it's a good way to get some pretty good metal cheap storage. All right, Dell has a this is their refurbished section, and so they have a Father's Day special going on. The code is Dad40 Laptop, where you can get 40% off any laptop, and just use that coupon code Dad40 Laptop. And yeah, you can save yourself a pretty good amount of money off of refurbished laptops. And they got some pretty good selections out there. I'll have a link in the description if you want to go check out what they got. All right, on to the last section of our little show, our Reddit stories. How do you feel about customers asking about how well you're doing? I own a small retail shop that I just opened a few years ago. I know we're new and we're about 30 minutes outside of a big city, so we get a lot of people curious about how well we're doing. But I always find it a bit rude when people ask me that when they come into the store. Almost on a weekly basis, someone asks if I'm doing well or if I'm getting much traffic. It's always comes off of as a bit cynical. Honestly, some peep days I and weeks I don't. I'm in debt from all of the startup costs. I'm posting almost every day on social media, running sales, buying new inventory to try to get people in, and sometimes I do feel like I'm all over it. No matter what I I say business has always been doing good with a smiley face. Do other storefront owners get that as well, or are people here just nosy? And if you aren't doing well at the moment, do you tell them? Actually, things are sucking pretty bad right now. So do you want to buy something? So I do this. I do this a lot. I'm always curious about how people our storefronts are going, especially small businesses. And I love going and talking to them about it a little bit. And I have to always, stop myself a little bit. Yeah, I don't want to be that kind of person that, tries to ask too directly. But I live in this small business world, and then I'm just really curious. And I think a lot of people are, and a lot of people are also trying to make conversation as well. So I wouldn't necessarily take it too personally when someone asks that kind of question. But if you are not doing well, just say, well, we could always be better. I would love to be able to get more, more people in. Hey, if you got people, try to turn it into a refer me kind of situation. Be like, hey, bring more people in. I could always use more business. Make it as lighthearted as you can, but kind of engage with it a little bit. Um, or just say, yeah, everything's going great. everything's going rosy, and let them not feel awkward about it, because then they may not come back if they feel like you've bugged them or anything like that. Just make it as pleasant as possible. Anyone else find that raising your prices actually got you better clients? I do content writing and some marketing work as a freelancer. When I started about a year ago, I was charging pretty low rates and getting products on my portfolio. Finally got the nerve to raise my prices about 2 months ago. Nothing crazy, maybe 40% more than what I was charging before. Lost a couple of clients immediately, which was terrifying. But the new clients who came in after or in at the higher rate have been way easier to work with. They actually read my drafts, give clear feedback, and don't nickel and dime every revision. The cheap clients were the ones that were sending me 47 revision requests on a $200 blog post. Small sample size so maybe I'm just getting lucky, but it feels like price act as a filter, and the people willing to pay more tend to value the work more. That's always the experience. When it comes to work, yes, the people who look for the deal, look for the cheap option, they're wanting perfection for a cheap price. Not always, and that's not always the case, but it can sometimes attract those kind of people. The people who, and you don't want to get too high, because once you get to a luxury kind of level, and I'm not just thinking about like writing, I'm thinking about any kind of industry. When you get to that point where you're asking like luxury level amount of money, then you're running the risk of people saying, "Well, I'm paying a lot of money for this, so I want to be able to have it perfect." So yeah, be careful. There's a little bit of a spectrum. You it seems like you found the sweet spot, and as a small business owners, that's the best way to be. Be in that sweet spot, and don't be afraid to fire a client that is being difficult. If they're costing you money, time, effort, and are taking you away from customers that will actually pay you money, fire them. Walk away and be like, "Well, I'm not going to service you anymore." My candle business grew from a hobby to actual income, and I have zero systems for any of it. Been making candles for about 18 months, started selling to friends, and now have a small, loyal customer base finding me through Instagram and word of mouth. Doing maybe $1,800 a month, which genuinely surprised me. The problem is that everything is held together with vibes. Yeek. Orders come through on DMs. Eek. I write them on sticky notes. I forget to restock wax, fragrant oils until I'm suddenly out mid-batch, missing two custom orders last month because I lost track of who wanted what and by when. I don't want to build a whole Shopify store or anything. Just want to stop the sticky note chaos making without making this feel like a second job to manage. I would look for a system, an inventory control system. Um, Again, I'm a fan of Zoho because it's not just about, they have inventory management systems, and they do have like POS systems. If you ever want to go into a farmer's market, they have an online selling system. They have email to be able to get you out of the DMs. And I believe they have some social media management systems to be able to see the DMs and manage them in that regards, and potentially throw them into CRMs. Um, so that you have and that right there, that's what you really should be looking at as a CRM, to be able to manage your customers that are coming in and to be able to process the orders effectively. Inventory management, and then also be able to see like what kind of stock that you have in store. Yeah, get a system, pay a little bit of money. You're making money, so spend money, and maybe you could turn that 18,000 or $1,800 a month into $3,000 a month, $5,000 a month, a little bit of extra work. Starting from scratch versus acquiring a business and expanding. Greetings. I want to start a business, but I'm not someone who can engineer or problem a solution. I think I'd be better off expanding or making something more efficient as I currently do at my job. Just gauging experiences. If I was to acquire a business, I'd be using an SBA loan. So what you should probably do is find a business that you really love, that you think that get some experience in it, maybe even like maybe work for someone in that business, make sure that you don't got a non-compete, and then make your own business based off of that experience. I wouldn't necessarily buy something unless it's very important. Um, Based off of this, I don't know if you have any kind of licensing or any kind of experience, but maybe look at like a food industry, learn how they do it, go work for a restaurant, and then go make your own food truck. Yeah, get the SBA loan to be able to do a food truck or maybe a laundromat or a car wash, something that you can kind of get your bite your teeth into, sink your teeth in. Find that because buying a business is, it can be a risk. It can benefit. It can fall on its face. You never know. But that's where I would do it. Find something that you like, start from scratch. Um, and pick an industry that can easily start from scratch. Something like a food industry. People are always excited about a new restaurant coming in. Yeah, find some recipes and start up a business. That's all I got for you today. Thank you for listening. And if you liked it, give it a thumbs up. I could always use some engagement. And if you come across this a little bit naturally, hit that subscribe button. I try to do this every week. I didn't do it the last 2 weeks, but I try to do this every week. It's a lot of fun. And if at any point you thought, man, that was just not right, there's a comment section there. Let me know what you would have done better, differently. All right. Until next week, have a good weekend.